This is the weekend edition of iFIBER 1 News, where we present some of the top stories from this week and your weekend weather forecast. I'm Alan Troop. Stay tuned for the weekend edition of iFIBER 1 News.
From the iFIBER 1 HD studio here in the heart of the Columbia Basin, this is iFIBER 1 News, your #1 source for local news, sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. This is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
One of our top stories for this week was about the demolition of a few older buildings to pave the way for a new transit center to be built in Moses Lake. Reporter Jeff Chu has the story.
Old structures are being demolished this week to clear the way for a $1.7 million Grant Transit multimodal transit center. The site is at 5th Avenue and Division Street in Moses Lake. A crew with Central Washington Excavating of Moses Lake began demolition work Monday morning. Grant Transit General Manager Greg Wright and others with the agency watched as the heavy equipment ripped through the former funeral home structures like they were made of paper. While demolition and site clearing is expected to go quickly, actual construction of the transit center will not begin until next fall after state transportation funding is approved.
The next week or so, this should be leveled and hopefully the majority of the structure off-site. Hopefully by spring of next year that we would be serving this facility.
The transit center to be used by commuters will cover about an acre of land Grant Transit purchased for the center. Grant Transit is seeking a regional mobility program grant through the State Department of Transportation to pay for up to 80% of the transit center's costs. State lawmakers are expected to budget the grant this spring, which would prompt the center's construction. The grant was expected to get legislative approval through the state transportation budget. Asbestos was removed from the existing structures on the site. The transit center is planned to serve as a hub for Grant Transit and other bus lines. It will include passenger amenities such as an enclosed waiting area, public restrooms, customer information, pass sales area, bicycle storage lockers, and a taxi drop-off and pickup area. The center will include a park and ride with an electric vehicle charging station, transfer areas to intercity bus transportation, a meeting room for community events, and video camera surveillance as part of its security system. I'm Jeff Chu for iFIBER 1 News.
In Soap Lake, a group of kids are stepping up to clean up litter along the town's streets. Reporter Jeff Chu met with the kids and has that story.
Few fifth graders would form a club with the sole mission of picking up trash on the streets of Soap Lake. But Soap Lake Elementary School student Logan Frazier did just that. Logan dubbed it the Give a Hoot Club, borrowing the name in part from the U.S. Forest Service's anti-litter campaign, Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute. Logan's younger sisters, Riley and Addie, became the club's second and third members. The kids have put a dent in the most littered parts of town.
We've cleaned out the post office, the school, across the street from the school. We've cleaned the school parking lot and we've cleaned the way to the post office.
Logan said their work is intended as goodwill towards Soap Lake.
We're helping the community. The pop rings that people throw out of their car, birds can get stuck in them, and it's also bad for the environment. One day when us three were cleaning, I found a thing of like a McDonald's box thrown out. I'm like, seriously?
Together with their grandfather and roadside supervisor Dave Hoffman, a retired educator, they've picked up 15 garbage bags of bottles, cans, papers, and miscellaneous throwaway items. Logan discussed his club idea with his grandfather and elementary school teacher Tom Byerman.
It's nice seeing him take initiative and seeing a need and taking some pride in the community and just leading the effort to make Soap Lake a better place to be.
Hoffman said 2 other kids joined the club, but they vanished as soon as they learned work was involved. He explained how the club began.
First time we went out by the golf course and went out in the bare field, and we turned it into a game, picking up yellow golf balls, and the kids collected about 200 golf balls out in the field. So they thought that was so much fun, so then they started picking up trash, and about 3 times now we've gone around this huge block and picked up the trash, and the school and the city have hauled it off, and the kids enjoy doing it.
Logan has one thing to say to those who litter in Soap Lake.
Stop that. Stop throwing out trash.
I'm Jeff Chu for iFiber One News.
And now we take a look at people being sought by law enforcement.
This is Sheriff Tom Jones with the Grant County Sheriff's Office. Each of the people you see here have a warrant for their arrest. If you see any of these people, we ask you do not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but call us at 509-762-1160 or send us an email at crimetips@co.grant.wa.us. If the person is presenting a danger, call 911. With your help, we can bring these people to justice and make our community safer.
And we'll be right back after this.